Hello and welcome to the chat room. My name is Barry and I am your host for tonight. And we're excited about tonight's session because we get to have a very big conversation with the president of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Mr. Kasonde Mwenda himself. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is the chat room and we are having conversations that are changing the world. And we're back right after this. And we're back. All right, so tonight we're going to be having a very big conversation with Mr. Kasonde Mwenda. And tonight we'll be getting to talk about how youths can begin to participate at all levels of national governance. So obviously this is a very big conversation because Zambia right now has a majority population of youths, and all over the place we're seeing a growing conversation around how youths can begin to participate more, what things youths can begin to do, how exactly do they come in. If the country is a majority youth, that means we need to have youths represented in the way that this country is governed. And this literally was the theme of this year's Youth Day. And as a chat room, we're basically saying, we want to move away from the idea of having one-day themes, but we want to see it lived out throughout the year. And if this year's theme was how can youth participate at all levels of national governance, this has to be a growing conversation throughout the year. So later on in tonight's chat, as we progress, we'll be having Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, the president of the E.F.F, come and share with us his vision for Zambia, and to be more specific, how exactly youths can come into the picture and what role youths can play in regards to national governance. So we want to interact with you tonight, so feel free, and we encourage you to join the conversation by simply letting us know where you're watching us from, and also along as we go ahead, feel free to share your thoughts by the comment section. We'll be able to share them here and all learn together as we progress. Hi, Jackie. How are you today? Unfortunately, your mic is muted, so we can't hear you.
Hi, I'm so sorry. How are you doing?
All good. It's great to have you tonight. And obviously, we're having a very big conversation around youths. And, we're talking about how youths can begin to participate at all levels of national governance. What are your preliminary thoughts around this? How do you expect this conversation to grow in terms of, what we're talking about tonight?
Okay, so, I don't know if this is related, but today the church service I was attending was actually Children's Sunday. And it wasn't the ordinary, children's service that we have, where, the Sunday school, I just St. John 3, verse 16, these guys brought it like a full sermon about, parents not, causing their children to, to grieve or to feel bad and the like. And the wisdom that was in that church really made me realize that we are the future leaders now. And this is a statement I've said before. We are the future leaders for today. And, talking about national level, national governance, we have the wisdom, okay? And one thing that is so beautiful about us youths is that we we have the vision, we have the dream, and it's accompanied by the energy and the time. Like, we have so many years attached to us. And so when we have a dream or vision, we can plan for a 10-year plan. That's We have that grace, we have that time frame with us, and we have the energy. For example, the number of things that I was doing today, maybe somebody 60 will be like, okay, let me sleep, but I'm here. So that means that we have the energy to carry out so many things. And it's very important that we are actually reminded that we can participate, we can use this energy for bigger things, and not just starting a small business, which I always recommend. But we can also dream bigger and use our energy and our vision and really just make Zambia beautiful. I feel like we have the capacity, we have the vision, we have the ability to make Zambia great. And I like that we have the energy to accompany that. Yeah. So I'm excited, pretty
Oh,
excited.
wow, that's great, and that's something I really, really, you talked about how young people are leading today, and that is so true. Youths have so much energy, we have so much potential. There is really so much that we could do, and one of the things that strongly comes out for me is there's just need for more sensitization in terms of how exactly can youths participate, because many people want to do it. We've got a lot of young people who have got time to actually contribute to this country in terms of governance, but many people still don't know exactly how to start. Like, where can they begin to participate? What does it even look like participating in governance? What does this really look like? And we're hoping Mr. Kasonde today will be able to share more light on this and just create more of a pathway into what youths can begin to do today to actively begin to participate in politics. So, Jackie, I want to share something. I want to share something briefly. In line with our founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. As you may know, this week we'll be celebrating his birthday, April 28th. And, it's also a day that has been set by the government to just remember him. So it's a public holiday, give or take. So I want to share something that's going to speak to that specifically in the next few minutes. But before we get into that, as a youth, as a Zambian youth, what's your memory of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda? Like, when you hear the name, what comes to mind? Like, what does he stand for you?
All right. So for me, I love Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. It's a pity I never got to meet him and just say thank you. For me, he's a symbol of freedom. He's a symbol of perseverance. He's a symbol of, a vision that cannot be stopped. I actually did a review about him. Not really a review, but I just there's this episode I was doing on Jackie Talk, and I talked about him, about how his greatness. And most of us are not aware of the number of challenges he went through, or that he was imprisoned and the like. So he's me. Every time I think about him, I think that anything that I can ever think of is possible, because the circumstances that he was in, you wouldn't think we would have freedom. It's like you have this vision, Barry, right? And then let's say you believe in it so bad, but your best friend doesn't. So he had circumstances where he's in. There are masses, there are a number of people that don't believe in his vision, and because he kept on pushing over and over again, people started buying the vision. Like, okay, maybe freedom is possible. So every time I think about him, I think of iconic, I think about freedom, I think about unstoppable vision. I'm like, hey, man, it's a lot. I just love him. Yeah, so
Amazing, amazing,
that's pretty
amazing.
much
And that is so true, and it really is a great inspiration for us all. For us all. So quickly, we're just going to be looking at a memorial of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and even as we do that, it is in memory of him, whose birthday is coming up this week, and let's remember him together, pretty much. All right, let's dive straight into it then.
It is said, the highest tribute to the dead is not grief but gratitude. Born a proud son of Chinsali, northern Rhodesia, your heart was one that always sang freedom and unity for the people of Zambia. for generations gone and generations yet to come. Tiende Pamosi. In the fight against apartheid and colonial rule, when bravery and courage were rare, when the whip of the oppressor bruised the bare melanin skin of our forefathers, you dared speak for the liberation of Central and Southern Africa. Amongst the Tembu tribe of South Africa, stories of your bravery will forever be heard, for there you broke bread with ANC's Nelson Mandela, making Zambia the harbor for Africa's fight for freedom. Over the Mount Nyangeni of Zimbabwe, your generosity remains a testament among ZANU's Robert Mugabe and ZAPU's Joshua Nkomo. Past the Kunene River of Namibia to the Swapo, the Coral Islands of Mozambique to the Frelimo, the Zanzibar shores of Tanzania, through the Kalahari Desert of Botswana, into the Tunda-Vala Fisia of Angola to the MPLA, your song has been heard by all our neighbors. Tiende Pamosi. Your tune had an irreplaceable rhythm in the pitch for Southern Africa's quest for freedom. At high cost to you and Mother Zambia, you sang Tiende Pamosi, Mutima Umo. For you believed that Zambia's freedom would be meaningless if its neighbors could not be liberated. So with wits as mighty as the Zambian eagle, you soared and the melody of Ubuntu marched into our homeland, where you united the people of Zambia. 72 tribes became one Zambia, one nation, one people. Tiende Pamosi, Mutima Umo. When the time to relinquish power to the next generation came, though unpopular of African leaders at the time, you willingly decided to do what was right, and in came Dr. Frederick Chiluba. When HIV sought to cripple the nation, you fought back, for you were born and died a fighter, and in us left the wheel of fire to blind justice, hang corruption, and break the shackles of greed and ignorance. And now, at 97, this proud old flag soars higher than ever before, proud and free for all to see, as you go to your new homeland across the shore.
He's gone. He's gone gently into that good night, as old age banged and raged at the close of day. We rage. We rage today as a nation against the dying of our night in the light of day. He was the last wave of our lakes and seas, but now they are still, and the nation is still. So come with me in the silence of night. Come with me in the speaking silence of a giant who has fallen, cause yes, we'll miss him. We'll miss him in the weeping of the rain. We'll miss him in the scorching of the African sun. We'll miss him in the freezing days. We'll miss him in the spring times. And yes, we'll miss him every 24th October, a door he opened for Zambia's rest. I recall grandma's stories about him, stories of his strong deeds that had danced in the streets of Zambia, how he caught and sang our slavery in flight, how his words spoke only peace, truth, and unity. But today, he's gone into that good night. And we stand stricken, remembering him, even in places where his foot did not step or his face shone, we remember him. And that's why we'll not look for him at the graveyards or look for him at his deathbed, because he will not be there. He will be on every tongue of every Zambian. He will be in every street of every city. He will be in every place his foot did not step. He will be in our memories as we remember him. Our founding father has gone into that good night, but his deeds are awake every morning.
Your life and legacy forms the foundations that we, the younger generations, build on in the strive to develop our nation. We take pride in the melanin of our skin, holding true that there is a great evil in this world, but it has no color. And no matter how we slice it, hate's greatest victim is always the person that harbors it. So we choose to love. For the torch is in our hands now. Our commitment is to hold fast these virtues that mold us: love, respect for all man despite differences in opinions and beliefs, for we all bleed the same. To honor our founding father, I pray that we never forsake our culture of oneness, that we forever live by what's right under God, not what's popular, that the truth never be dictated by the corrupt narrative of a few. So if ever the sun shines,
If ever the Zambezi River flows,
if ever the fields yield,
if ever the salt of Ingombe Ilede be tested,
if ever the Mosi Otunya thunders,
if ever the eagle flies,
and if ever our anthem is sung, may we remember your great courage, sacrifice, and love.
Farewell, gallant son of Africa. You lived and died singing the tune of unity and liberty. Tiende pamozi, mutima umo.
Okay, and we're back. So I'm hoping that did speak to you. Again, this is in memory and remembrance of our founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who will be having his birthday come up this week, April 28th. And as we all know, that is a Memorial Day for him. Government has set it apart as a public holiday. All right, so going back to tonight's chat, we're talking about how youths can begin to participate at all levels of national governance. And for me personally, I feel it's very key that we put out the fact that this says all levels, because sometimes what we've seen is we've seen youth mushroomed at a certain level in terms of governance, but there is really need for youths to become represented or to be represented at all levels of national governance. And the governance is in different stages. There's central government, there's local government, and there's different levels of national governance that come into play. And it really is vital and important for youth to begin to participate at all levels, at all levels of national governance. Jackie, even as we are about to bring in Mr. Kasonde just now, can you quickly, the piece just finished playing now, and what are your thoughts on that? In terms of talking about Dr. Ken Kaunda before, what are your thoughts on that? Can you share some of your thoughts?
The first thing I thought was I wanted to cry, and then I remembered this is live television and you can't cry. So I definitely wanted to cry because Dr. Kenneth Kaunda is amazing, and he fought so hard. Sometimes we want to measure his strength, but we were not there, and we do not know what he went through or the struggles that he had. We were not there, and if we were there, I tell you, maybe we'll be one of those people that were hiding. Maybe we'll be one of those people that even didn't believe that indeed Zambia could be free. And that's why he's iconic. For me, he's alive, because when you do something that great, you don't die. Your legacy is too alive for you to die. So for me, he's very much alive. He's in you. If you want to fight for Africa, you want to fight for Zambia, you want to see Zambia better, then Kenneth Kaunda is within you. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda is right in you. He's leaving his legacy through you. Every Zambian, every year we celebrate independence, that's his legacy still being alive. And that's how great he is. Like, he's really great. That's how big he is. That's how great he is. And it's something that cannot be changed. It's history. When you seal it, history has been sealed, that this man will forever be iconic. And I think this is one of the things that I would teach my children. I would tell them like, yo, we were not always free, but because of one person who believed that it was possible, and he gathered his friends, and there were times, his friends' faith was wavering, but his faith was so real, and he fought on and fought hard for our independence. So that's something I'm going to tell my children. I like, oh, so yeah, mommy wasn't born when there was slave trade and the like, but the reason why she wasn't born at that time is because there was one man that believed that freedom was actually possible. Hi, Eunice. How are you doing?
Hi, Jackie. It's wonderful to see you on the chat
It's
room.
way back. And how are you? How are you doing? I saw graduation week. Congratulations.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm happy. Being a new graduate and all. It's really exciting. We worked hard for being here, so definitely we just have to celebrate and enjoy. But I'm pretty excited.
Mhm.
I don't have my video on because my network is really bad, so I just decided to have my audio on, so maybe it could help balance my
All right,
internet.
all right,
But otherwise, it's amazing to be on the chat
all right.
room, and
So
I'm really excited about today's topic.
yeah. All right, so we're actually talking about Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and just how iconic he was. And I think when you're just coming in, you found me talking about him. What does like when you think about Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, what do you think about? What comes to your mind?
Firstly, for me, um, I feel like I will really have to it's really up to me to make my children get to know about Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, or even the younger generation to get to know about him and what he did and the impact that he had on Zambia by telling them stories. And for me, when I think about Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, I see a man of confidence and a man um, who stepped out of his comfort zone, a man that wanted change for not only himself, but even for the people around him. To be known as a freedom fighter is you putting yourself, your life, and everything at risk for the safety of another. And that's great. Like, that's beyond love, to put yourself at risk for another person's safety. So I think that's very iconic to think about when you see how, or we know about all these stories about the freedom fighters that were in the forefront to make sure that Zambia is put out of slavery and colonialism and all that kind of a thing. So that's what I would say.
Wonderful. And today's topic is about youths participating in national level. And when at the time Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was entering politics and the like, he was actually a youth. And so what do you think is okay? I don't want to take away our guests' questions, but what do you think? Is it possible for youths to participate on a national level?
I I think everyone has the capacity to do anything as long as they are willing to do it, and they are also willing to learn from those that have gone before them. I mean, that those that have gone, yeah, those that have gone ahead of them. So we hear of quotes that say, I have seen great places because I stood on the shoulders of giants and all that kind of a thing. So I definitely believe that youths can definitely take part and are capable of taking positions in terms of um, political, is it governance? Yes, and any other role that requires them to be in the forefront concerning national issues. Uh, it's very important to learn the systems through the people that have been in the system. And even as you are coming to make things better, it's very important that you learn how things are done for you to be able to know where exactly you need to work on. So I think that that's what we really need to learn, not to sideline, not to sideline those that are already there because we think that they're not doing a good job, but ours is to learn from the good things that they're capable of doing, and also being able to fill the gap of what we feel they are not capable of doing. And that alone is what will make us powerful when it comes to um, national at um, uh, governance at community level, national, and just worldwide, by learning and then adding on what we think that would work
Mm.
best.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's very true. That's very true because um, most of the time we want to become very critical. We want to look at what is wrong. And when we look at what is wrong, we don't want to bring out solutions. And we don't want to learn from, the areas that we are really good. Because we can't just say, our leaders are not doing the right things. And I feel like if we could, I love that you said if we could learn, I feel like a learning mind can achieve anything. And we forget that as much as we are really pinpointing, like, okay, this is wrong, this is bad, we forget that one day we'll be on that seat and it's hard to do only the right things. And I think that's something we should take note of, learn what's good, see where they're failing, see how you can, come in where they're failing. Because I feel even there'll be more confidence in the youth if they can actually bring solutions as compared to them just always complaining. Yeah, I mean, that's just what I believe in. Barry, hi, how are you doing?
I just realized I was muted. So I was saying, I really resonate with what you were saying, how youths can, can bring in solutions and how they should bring in solutions. And it's true, I think for me personally, what youths lack at the moment is leadership. Youths need leadership, and this is something we're able to do on ourselves. We should be able to self-govern as youths, because youths already have the potential, they already have the energy to make change and positive impact. But what we youths lack most of the time is good leadership. So you find somebody's gonna come, find a group of youths, and lead them to do maybe violence and or other things that really don't move us in a progressive agenda in terms of our country. But if youths really can begin to organize themselves, we can come together. The youth voice is always the most predominant voice in society. When you step into a community and hear, this community has got thieves, what that means is that community, a lot of young people are stealing. When they say this community has got drunkards, young people always and youths always get to define a society and a community, and that just shows the power that youths hold. And if youths can come together, really, if we're able to self-govern ourselves, I believe we can begin to contribute positively towards developing our country and towards having a progressive agenda in terms of development, and developing Zambia. Youths definitely are the solution, and we need to rise up and stand up, not only, get in line when it comes to voting, but, throughout the 5 years when government is in power, youths need to be part of each step that government takes if we're going to be progressive, if we're going to see ourselves developed. I personally long for the day when we see somebody even just below the age of 40 get to sit in office as president. I really believe that will be impactful. I believe that will be really powerful, and I really strongly also believe Zambia is moving towards that sort of possibility. I think very, very soon we would be seeing, and we will be seeing young people, youthful people at least, get into high positions of power today the youngest member of parliament today is 28 years old. And I had an opportunity to speak with him last month, and it was exciting to know that we actually have people that young in parliament, and that just shows we can do more. In Uganda, there's a member of parliament who's at 23 years old, and she's a lady, in Rwanda, I mean, and that's really exciting, and it's really, really inspiring to see that it is actually possible for youth to begin to participate at different levels of national governance, at different levels of national governance. So unfortunately, we seem to be having a technical issue with our guest tonight, Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, and we're hoping he'll still be able to come through. But right now, he's being delayed to circumstances beyond his control. So even as we wait on him, Jackie, what do you think is the current landscape on a local level, on a very local level? Right now we've got WDCs, what developmental committees, we've got councillors, we've got mayors, we've got the MPs. How engaged do you think youths are with these local levels of leadership in terms of governance? Do you think many youths in Zambia today know who their councillors are even?
That's a very good question, Barry. And this is something I even wanted to ask. My question in my mind was, is the environment is it good? Is the environment set well for youth to actually actively participate? Unfortunately, I would say no, because mostly we see youth being more engaged and more active when it comes to campaigns as somebody might argue like, no, there are some youths that are part of organizations and the like, but that's not the majority. Okay, those are the the a few number of youths that are actually privileged, or they have worked hard to reach there. So is the environment very welcoming for youths to have ideas? I don't think so. I don't really think so, because I feel we are mostly used as cadres and the like, and we are mostly used for some sort of empowerment that usually just come during campaign season. So campaign season is there and they are talking about youth empowerment. When campaign season is gone, we are left, and we when we ever have to have our voices heard, it has to be a riot and the like, which is really bad. I feel like if the government really look into platforms that really like represent us, on a national level, actually, if it was actually possible that we can have a representative during assembly, that would be good, because at least our voices would be heard. But as long as there's only a platform that is only for those selected people, and in small numbers, and then they say the youths are active, the youths are innovative, and even the small numbers, the same groups have got certain, they want, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be qualified. I believe we should be qualified to be part of an association, or to be able to actually speak, because it's not always that we speak things that are really matter. But I feel like if we had national representation, whereas in this person is a youth not affiliated to any political party, but affiliated to the to the country Zambia, speaking for us, speaking for what we see, our challenges and the like. Because when we see some youth advocates, there's this one who's very known on Facebook, but he only advocates for some things that are not really affecting the youth, and that's what we usually have. So if it wasn't just restricted to here and there and there, and it wasn't so boxed, and they really focused on youth empowerment that doesn't only appear during elections, I believe we would really see the change that we need to see. Over.
And we're back. That was you spoke about other things, and one thing that I picked on was you spoke of qualifications, and how it's important for youths to be qualified, and that's of great interest to me, because we want to push the agenda forward of how youth should be engaged, how youth should participate in governance, but we also can't ignore the fact that youths need to be competent. And usually you find when people advocate for youth, they just advocate, let the youth be part of this, let the youth be part of that. And very, very little times we talk about how youth need to be competent. If youths are given authority that put in powers of influence, in positions of influence, can they be trusted to do what is right? And that brings us to the question of qualifications. Do we have enough competent youths, who are going to be responsible? And I think some of these things start at a smaller level. When you look at our universities, at our colleges, you look at our student leadership there. How are they handling affairs? And it's really disheartening when you go to some colleges, some universities, you find youths who are there are misappropriating funds. Are taking advantage of the people that they're leading. It shows, okay, is this country ready for youth leadership? So I think personally for me, even as we get to talk more about how youth should be engaged in governance, it's really, really important that we also push forward the need for competence, because the more youths show themselves to be competent, the more youth will be trusted by everybody else, even the youths ourselves. The more we're able to trust ourselves to take that baton of leadership and begin to propel this country forward. So I'm just thinking about that, and I'd like to hear from you, Jackie. Because you mentioned this. How important do you think it is, for Zambian youth to engage in being competent, and what kind of competencies do we need to see?
Okay, so when we're talking about someone who needs to represent us, they need to be competent. They need to be aware of national matters. They need to be up to date. And I feel like we have a good number of educated youths. For example, we have lawyers that are youths. Okay, and we have when you're talking about climate change, we have environmental graduates that know about the environment and the like. So what I was actually, when you talked about qualifications, I thought of what are we putting in our syllabus? I'm a teacher, so I do care about education. And, if we want our youth to be qualified, want them to be competent, want them to be aware of, national matters, this is something that has to be introduced to them. Okay, so apart from some of us who are lucky to take civic education, what is being done in schools? For example, for me, the only thing I did was peer education. That's what was introduced at my school. So yes, I know about HIV and teenage pregnancies, but why don't they form such an association like peer education, right? But then which is centered on just government issues, and it has to be non-partisan, because teachers cannot side with any political party. However, it should teach students about the government. It should teach them about good governance in practice. Because if we introduce it as a subject, they'll only think about passing. But if we introduce it as an activity, a part-time, an association, something that they do when they're not in class, this is something they can actually be interested in, and we can raise, we can raise leaders. This is something that should be introduced when they are just, in their classrooms before they even get to university, because not all of them will be privileged enough. Do they know the Constitution? Do they even know the value? Teach them the value of, reading a manifesto, a political party manifesto. Teach them that, because if we don't teach them that, we'll be voting because there's a popular song. And that's the common thing, because and that's not really a bad thing. We are actually more into oral literature, and that's why we feel nice when we hear songs and we vote because of that. But ask a number of youths, did you read the manifesto? Have you ever read a manifesto of any political party? They'll be like, I don't know what that is, And do you know your constitution apart from the preamble? So these are matters that should be addressed. If you want them to be qualified, make them qualified, or else we're just going to raise youths that don't understand national matters, and then they'll keep, only a few will keep on saying, no, we want to be part of the government, no, we want to be part of the national, and even them cannot always represent the masses. They only present the ones that they know and are affected or they're affected with. Yeah. Over.
Amazing, and that is quite brilliant, really. And thank you. So again, do interact with us, do join the conversation. We see you there. Thank you, Diana. And everybody else who's tuning in tonight from our chat room platform and also from our ambassadors pages as well. We love to see you here. And the idea is, how can we develop our capacities? That's what the chat room really is about. How can we get to talk about conversations that are meaningful, that matter, and that we know are sure to change the world, which is what we are having, here. So Jackie, I really love the fact that you really emphasized on how education plays an important role. And just you talked about the Zambian culture. We have a more oral culture, so people won't take time to read manifestos, and the likes. They only complain when they discover what's going on here. And I think that speaks to a lot of things, because before we see a certain particular change, that change was planned for. And what happens most of the time, because of our culture, we don't want to read stuff. We don't want to engage in in educative stuff, where we can build our capacities. So people don't read plans. They don't read political parties' plans. They don't know what Zambia's strategic plan is for the next 10 years. We don't know that. And all we're able to do is react. So when we see the price of fuel go up, well, now we're like, what's going on here? When we see the price of millimil go up, we're like, what's going on here? And by the time we react, it's already too late, because those things have already happened. And if we're going to become, proactive, there really is need for us to engage with stakeholders, with government, with other players on the field, NGOs, before the fact and not after the fact, because we only want to get engaged after the fact, So it's after something has gone wrong, and then we're like, what's going on here? It's only after there's some sort of scandal arising, doesn't now everybody comes together and we're like, okay, what's going on here? What's our government doing? And the likes. But I feel if we're really going to push the developmental agenda forward as youth, there's need for us to become active before the fact and not after the fact. Because once we only act, or once we only speak out after something has happened, it is already too late. And things will continue happening that we are not particularly proud of. And I feel that is very, very important, because we talk about how youth can get to participate at all levels of national governance. All right, so we have met our time here. And unfortunately, our guest tonight, Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, is unable to make it through for this chat, which is really, really a big bummer, because we're really looking forward to interacting with him. I know he has a great mind, and I think he's one of Zambia's most youthful politicians right now. I think he's the youngest political player that we have on the field who's actually eyeing for the seat of to become the president of Zambia, which is an achievable dream. I think, he's always saying our feet can take us there, and it's good to see more and more people believing. And unfortunately, he's unable to make it tonight. Apologies on his behalf and on behalf of the chat room, of course. This is due to circumstances beyond his control. But we're still glad to have this conversation with you, and we really hope you've been able to pick up something in regards to how you can begin to participate at a level, at least, of national governance. If you don't know what ward do you even live in, and it's surprising today people don't even know what wards they live in. So take time, to engage. You gotta start small. If you don't know how to start by getting your councillor's number, ask him, what's your plan for my ward? Start by knowing who sits on your ward developmental committee. Walk into the council, visit the mayor, go to the planning department in terms of social welfare. Get engaged, and it starts small. Really, it's how we change our country, and it really is important for youth now to begin to participate, because Zambia is currently made up of a majority youth, and statistics show in the next 30 years this youth population is only growing. And if youths are what we have, then it's for us to take up the baton of leadership, really, and begin to find creative and innovative way through which we can transform our country. So Jackie, even as we conclude, do you have any concluding thoughts to share?
Yes, you talked about, visiting the offices, and one thing you should do as you're visiting those offices is also have an association, have something that is speaking for you. You can have a group of friends, you share the same ideas, and you want to change the world together. Have that association, have it, registered, so that when you go there, that speaks for you. You're coming from somewhere. It's hard for you to just walk in and be like, I want to see this. But if you stand as, we are this, we stand for this, and we want to see the plan for this, for our community. You have something backing you up. You have something, and because they'll just be like, no, the youth just show up here, and they bring out confusion and the like. When you're an association, you're not bringing confusion. They'll see that you are standing not alone. You're standing with your fellow youths, and we're backing you up, and we love you, and we support you. So if you have a dream for your community or something, don't be afraid to join politics, bring the change that we need to see, and remember that you are not the future for tomorrow. That passed a long time ago. You're the future for today, and we need you. Yeah, I think that I end it there.
Wow, wonderful. Thanks for those beautiful thoughts, Jackie. And to everybody who joined in tonight, we're grateful you are here, and thank you for giving time. And we really hope you've been able to take something out. We are the chat room. We are on every Sunday, and we're looking forward to interacting with you next week Sunday at this particular time, as we begin to conclude our session now.